Have you ever had one of those quiet afternoons where you're just sitting with a cup of tea, looking out the window, and suddenly a strange thought sneaks in? Is this it now? Not in a sad or dramatic way, but more like a soft whisper, nudging your mind. It's a question that tends to pop up in the stillness, especially after 70, when the kids are busy with their lives, your work days are behind you, and the house is quieter than it used to be. You start to wonder, what's my purpose now? If you've ever felt that, please know you're not alone. And more importantly, you are not finished. You see, retirement isn't the end of your story. It's just the end of one chapter. You still have pages and pages to fill. And the beauty of this part of life is that you get to choose the roles you want to play. You're no longer bound by deadlines, office meetings, or rushing to get dinner on the table for a house full of kids. Now the stage is yours. In today's video, I want to talk to you from the heart, because no matter what society says, your value doesn't expire with age. In fact, some of the most meaningful roles in life begin after 70, and over the next few minutes we'll explore 5 of them. 5 roles that bring purpose, connection, and joy. You might already be living 1 or 2 of them, or maybe you've yet to discover your next calling. Either way, let's take a gentle walk through this idea together. Let's begin with the role that I believe is both powerful and underestimated, the mentor. You've lived a life full of lessons, some joyful, some hard-earned. Whether it was raising a family, navigating challenges, building a business, or simply surviving the storms of life, you carry a wisdom that no textbook or website can teach. And there's someone out there, a young man trying to make sense of fatherhood, a young woman stepping into adulthood, a struggling neighbor looking for advice, who could benefit deeply from just one conversation with you. You don't need to become a formal advisor or wear a badge that says mentor. It could be a cup of tea with your grandson, a call to an old colleague, or volunteering at a local school or community center. Your stories, your experience, your calm voice, it could be the exact thing someone needs to hear. You may not realize it, but your presence could be someone else's turning point, and that is powerful. Now, from mentor, let's gently shift to another meaningful role, the creator. Yes, the creator. You may be thinking, oh, I'm not an artist or a writer, that's not me. But let me ask you something. Have you ever knitted something with care, jotted down a story in your journal, painted, even if just for fun, baked something from memory? That's creation. And this phase of life gives you the freedom to create, not for approval or paycheck, but simply for the joy of it. You don't have to show the world what you're making. You can, of course, if you'd like. But sometimes the act of creating is enough. A scrapbook of your family's history, a garden full of herbs and flowers, a little memoir written in longhand. You see, creativity doesn't belong to the young, it belongs to the living. And if you're still breathing, you still have art in you. Maybe you've always wanted to play the piano, or finally learn watercolor, or write that story you've had in your head for years. There's no such thing as too late when it comes to creating. In fact, now might be the perfect time. You no longer need permission. You only need curiosity. And while we're here, let me tell you a little story. A woman named Margaret, who lived just a few doors down from me when I was growing up, used to be quiet and reserved. After her husband passed, she kept to herself for a while. But then one day, we saw her sitting outside with a little easel. It started with a few sketches. Then she began painting. Bright, beautiful scenes of the sea, flowers, and memories from her childhood. Within a year, she was holding tiny exhibitions in the local library, not because she wanted to be famous, but because it brought her joy, and people were drawn to it, to her. That spark she lit at 74 is still glowing today, 10 years later. She didn't retire from life. She became something new, something fuller, and you can too. Maybe your canvas isn't paper or paint. Maybe it's in the kitchen or in the garden or even online. sharing your thoughts, your life, your humor. Whatever it is, the creator in you is waiting patiently for your attention. And if these roles feel unfamiliar or even a little intimidating, that's perfectly okay. That's what growth feels like, even at this age. In fact, especially at this age. You've done the hard work of youth. Now it's time for the meaningful work of legacy, of fulfillment, of joy. There's no race, no pressure, no deadline. Just you, your story, and the beautiful possibility of what now. So whether you see yourself stepping into the shoes of a wise mentor or letting your imagination, sometimes we get so used to what we used to be, teacher, parent, nurse, manager, builder, that we forget we're still becoming something new. But the moment you stop defining yourself by what you did then, you can start embracing who you are now. And one of the most fulfilling ways to do that is by stepping into the role of the connector. Let's take a moment to think about how deeply the world is craving connection these days. The irony is, we've never been more digitally linked, yet real human connection often feels out of reach. And here's where you come in. Not as a follower of trends or tech, but as someone who knows the value of a true, meaningful bond. You've experienced friendships that lasted decades. You've seen neighbors come and go, and you know that love isn't in a text message. It's in the time, the stories, the laughter around a table. Being a connector doesn't mean throwing parties or organizing big events. It could be as simple as calling someone who lives alone and chatting for 15 minutes. It might mean gathering a few friends every Sunday for a walk in the park. Or maybe it's writing letters, yes, good old-fashioned letters, to your grandchildren or old friends. Those small acts ripple outward in ways you may never fully see. I once met a gentleman named Abdul, who was in his late 70s. Every morning, without fail, he'd visit a small tea shop near the mosque and talk with whoever sat beside him, young boys, delivery drivers, retired teachers. He didn't force conversation. He just listened, nodded, and smiled, that soft, knowing smile. Over time, that little corner became a hub of warmth. People would come not just for the chai, but for the comfort of being seen, heard, and remembered. He didn't set out to be a connector, but that's exactly what he was. And that's something each of us can do in our own gentle way. Now, from connecting with others, let's explore a role that's often overlooked, but incredibly vital, the learner. Yes, even after 70, learning is still for you. In fact, maybe now more than ever. You're not learning to get a degree or impress someone. You're learning because curiosity is a muscle, and when you keep using it, your spirit stays vibrant. The brain is remarkable. Studies continue to show that staying mentally active through reading, puzzles, learning new skills, or even engaging conversations can improve memory, clarity, and overall well-being. But beyond the science, there's something deeply personal and satisfying about discovering something new. Imagine learning a bit of Spanish and surprising someone with a greeting, or watching documentaries that take you to parts of the world you never got to visit. Or maybe you always wanted to understand the stars, or the internet, or your own family history. Now's the time. You have the gift of time and the freedom to choose. Learning doesn't always happen in classrooms. It happens when you ask your grandson to teach you how to use that new phone, when you try a new recipe, read a different kind of book, or explore a part of your city you never knew existed. Every small stretch outside your comfort zone keeps the mind young and the soul deeply satisfied. There's something quietly heroic about a 75-year-old woman taking up photography just because she's curious, or an 80-year-old man trying Tai Chi for the first time because someone mentioned it helps with balance. The moment you say to yourself, "Why not me?" you open the door to growth. And growth at any age is life. You see, these roles, the mentor, the creator, the connector, the learner, they don't exist in separate boxes. Often they overlap. You might connect with others through your creations. You might mentor while learning. You might learn while connecting. Life doesn't move in neat lines. It weaves and folds and surprises us. And isn't that beautiful? And while you're learning, connecting, creating, or guiding, never underestimate how deeply others are watching. Your resilience, your openness, your joy, they inspire more than you realize. Grandchildren, neighbors, friends, even strangers, they look to you not just for wisdom, but for example. You show them that life doesn't end at 70. It begins again, just differently. You show them what aging with grace, purpose, and presence really looks like. Now maybe you're thinking, this all sounds lovely, but I'm not sure where to start. That's completely natural. The good news is you don't need to start big. Just start aware. Notice what brings you a sense of joy or curiosity. Pay attention to what makes you feel alive. That's your compass. There's no perfect formula, but what matters is that you stay engaged. Engaged with people, with ideas, with your own inner world. Because retirement from a job is one thing, but retiring from life, that's never been the plan. You're not done. Not by a long shot. And sometimes all it takes is one choice. Making that phone call, joining that library, opening that sketch pad, saying yes. And now, as we walk a little further into this conversation, just the two of us, heart to heart, let me introduce you to one final role. It's not about being an expert or achieving anything grand. In fact, it's probably the most gentle yet profound of them all. And that's the role of the giver of peace. Now, I know that might sound a little poetic, but let me explain. When you've lived through 7 or more decades of life, through joy and heartbreak, changes and challenges, you begin to understand something many others are still trying to grasp: what truly matters. You begin to notice how people chase things that don't last. You realize that time, quiet moments, forgiveness, kindness, these are the treasures, and you, my friend, have the ability to pass those treasures on. Being a giver of peace doesn't mean you float around smiling all the time. It means you've learned to slow down. You've learned to listen more than speak, to choose calm over chaos, and to let go of what no longer serves you. And when others see that, your stillness, your wisdom, your ability to accept life as it is, they begin to feel safe around you. A woman once told me that the most healing moments of her week were when she visited her mother, who was 82. She said, "It's not what she says. It's how she makes me feel, like I don't have to prove anything. I just sit by her and somehow I feel more whole." That right there is the gift of peace, and it is something only life experience can teach. You don't have to be a counselor or a guru. You just have to be. Your presence, your calm, your ability to say, "This too shall pass," is medicine to the world. And in these fast, loud, distracted times, you are a rare and precious soul. Don't underestimate that. And maybe that's the thread tying all of these roles together. Your life has value not just in what you do, but in who you are. You are not invisible. You are not irrelevant. You are not past your time. You are still becoming, still giving, still showing the rest of us what real living looks like. You see, after 70, the roles change. Not because you've lost something, but because you've gained something else. You've gained clarity. You're not chasing approval or status anymore. You're more rooted in what feels true. And the roles we've explored, the mentor, the creator, the connector, the learner, the giver of peace, they aren't jobs. They're invitations. Invitations to keep showing up, to keep engaging with the world, and to keep shaping your story. And here's something else that's important. There is no wrong way to play these roles. Some days you might feel energized and full of ideas. Other days you may just want to sit quietly and rest. Both are perfectly fine. Growth doesn't always look like movement. Sometimes it's happening beneath the surface, quiet, steady, powerful. So if you've been feeling lately like the world has moved on, or that you've been forgotten, let me gently remind you, your presence still matters. The world still needs your softness, your steadiness, your insight. There are still hands to hold, stories to tell, gardens to plant, books to write, laughs to share, and wisdom to pass down. And no, you don't have to do it all at once. Just begin where you are with what you have. Start small. One conversation, one hobby, one visit, one letter. That's how we keep living, not just existing, but truly living. When you choose to keep engaging with life, even when it's quieter than it once was, you're doing something beautiful. You're telling the world, I am still here, I am still growing, and I am still worth listening to. So as we close this time together, let's take a deep breath. Right now, in this moment, you are enough. You don't need to fix the past or rush the future. You only need to say yes to the present, because in that yes lies the doorway to a rich, meaningful, and deeply joyful chapter of life. If any of these words touched you even just a little, I want to invite you, share your story with us in the comments. Tell us how you found purpose after retirement, or tell us what you're still searching for. You might be surprised at how many people are walking the same path. And if this video reminded you of your strength, your value, or simply made you smile, please give it a like and consider subscribing. We're building a community here, a place for conversations that matter, for stories that inspire, and for lives that are far from over. You've lived through so much, and now you get to live for something. Here's to this new chapter. Here's to never retiring from life. Here's to you,